Hi there, everybody. It's Dr. Chris here. Thank you for joining me. I just did a live broadcast on not eucalyptus, respiratory support and the essential oils from Young Living that support the respiratory system. And I wanted to just come back on now and go through a little bit of what Eucalyptol is, which is the naturally produced cyclic ether and monoterpenoid. Oh my gosh, what is that? Well, it's the chemical constituent, so hence the big words. But basically, it's an ingredient in so many of the over-the-counter medicated brands of just normal mouthwashes and cough suppressants because of the action of what eucalyptol is. So what is really cool is that it's found naturally in nature, and it's found naturally in many of the essential oils that we commonly use to help support our respiratory system. So this is why I want to talk about it, because it's these chemical constituents, these compounds that create the therapeutic benefit of why we are using the essential oils in the first place. And a little side note on that if you are from Young Living, you probably know at this point that Young Living has such pure oils and they are therapeutically active because of the way it starts from seed to seal. So the way they process the seeds, the way everything is grown and taken care of and cultivated and harvested and distilled. Care is taken each step along the way to make sure that you have the most therapeutic pure oil that you possibly can. We cannot say this about many of the other oils on the market because we don't know exactly how they've been processed. And you can go to actually many of you can go to all the farms in Young Living, but there's a couple of them where we actually make different types of eucalyptus oils. So in Ecuador, we're growing and distilling the eucalyptus blue essential oil. You might even be able to plant it. You might even be able to harvest it, help with the distilling. You can actually help sometimes. They have programs where you can do that, but you for sure can see it happening in action. And what makes the difference is that all these things have been going on now. Young Living is 25 years old. So they have been doing all this research on how to get the best oils. So this is why it's so important to use pure therapeutic oils that have these constituents in them, because if they're not processed properly, they might not. You don't know. It's a big question mark. So if we're going to use these things, we want to make sure that they're working. All right. So usually things with eucalyptol have a fresh type of minty scent, right? This is why eucalyptus is called eucalyptus, because of the eucalyptol. It's also cooling. And there's another synonym that will sometimes be used for eucalyptol called cineol, cineol. And this eucalyptol terpene, so chemical compound, a natural one, was first identified by a French chemist, Francois Stanislas Chloé, in 1870. But long before even the 19th century, herbal medicine channeled eucalyptus. They used eucalyptus in herbal ways to act as a cough suppressant, mood lifter, and antibacterial cleanser. So this is historically, right? Not making any claims. This is just what they were using it for. And nowadays, commercially, many brand name companies are using the actual chemical eucalyptol. God knows how they get it. I'm pretty sure they're not using natural compounds. They're probably synthesizing it. So remember, we can synthesize chemistry in a lab. I synthesized banana scent when I was in my organic chem lab in college. So if I can do it, they can do it, right? But eucalyptol is used in a lot of cold and sinus medications because this particular terpene, this eucalyptol terpene, aids in breathing. And this is backed up by studies that I'm going to go through. Now, you can also use eucalyptol as a culinary ingredient in very low doses, though. You don't want to use it in large doses, so it's not something that you want to douse your food with. But you can actually use it, and this is why it's okay. We've got the thieves um, vitality, which has some Eucalyptus radiata in it in very small amounts, because this is a very mild eucalyptus that's safe to ingest in small amounts. So again, it's all relative of what you're using things for. So eucalyptol, the chemical constituent itself, controls airway mucus, hypersecretion, and asthma via anti-inflammatory cytokine inhibition. Oh my God, I just said a huge mouthful. So eucalyptol will help to dampen mucus production in things like asthma, which is where you're not able to get enough air in, via the anti-inflammatory cytokine inhibition. So cytokines is something our own body produces in reaction to what's going on in our environment, and it creates inflammation. And if you're watching this right now, everybody I think now has heard about COVID-19 and it creating a cytokine storm. And that's probably the first time people had ever heard about it. But if you understand the immune process and the inflammatory process, this is not new for us. It's just a way the body's trying to deal with what's happening to it. And so it's kind of throwing everything it can at what's going on. All right. Eucalyptol has also been found to be an effective treatment for rhinosinusitis. So rhino meaning nose. So sinusitis of the nose and sinus cavities. And it's sort of the more type of allergic response, the non-purulent. So meaning that it's not making a lot of pus, mucus. You don't get a lot of gross drainage out of that. I'm sorry, too much information, right? Eucalyptol comprises up to 90% of the essential oils of some species of the generic product eucalyptus oil, hence the common name of the compound. So this is just general common knowledge. I am not making this up. I'm not making any claims. This is just what is going on when you're looking at chemical constituents of some essential oils, including eucalyptus. It's also found in things like camphor, laurel, bay leaves, tea tree, sweet basil, wormwood, rosemary, common sage, cannabis sativa, and other aromatic plant foliage. So eucalyptus is not the only one that has this terpene in it. There are other plants that do as well. Now, there was a 2013 study published in the Journal of Oncology, and they found that eucalyptol, which they refer to as cineol in that study, suppressed human colorectal cancer cell growth. Again, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you what they found in a study on eucalyptol. There's been many studies and clinical trials, actually, even demonstrating the efficacy of eucalyptol for various respiratory disorders. A lot of them, not just one, many, because, and this is why they're using it in commercial products. So it's helped patients with many respiratory issues like asthma, pneumonia, and bronchitis, and COPD, cigarette smoke irritation. They found that in these studies that eucalyptol was able to improve lung function and reduce mucus. And this is because many of eucalyptol's benefits are derived from its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant actions. So I just talked a little bit about that cytokine storm that creates inflammation. So this dampens that, the eucalyptol. And antioxidants are the things that quench free radicals in our body and prevents damage and aging. All right. Last study I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Cognitive function. So, inflammation in the brain is a hallmark of things like Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative disorders. So, a 2014 study, which was published in Neurochemistry Research, found that eucalyptol or cineol reduces signs of inflammation caused by amyloid beta peptides, which are the things that create the plaques in the brain, which they are associating with Alzheimer's. And although they did this study in petri dish models, other human studies have also shown exposure to eucalyptol, especially in these studies they use rosemary oil, and the terpenes presence in the bloodstream were positively correlated with an increase in cognitive performance. In other words, increase in brain function. All right. So that's quite a few things that we talked about with eucalyptol, and I think that gives you a greater understanding. At least it does for me, being a doctor, that if I'm understanding what is making up an essential oil, then I can understand why it's used to help support different systems. And this is also very interesting to see that with plants, right? We're not just looking at one system. They can support so many systems. It's not a one size fits all. And this is another great reason why you've got the eucalyptol, which is just one constituent, and in a processed product, they might put the eucalyptol. But when we're talking about something like eucalyptus, you've got eucalyptol and you've got other chemical constituents that can work together to either enhance an action or maybe put the brakes on an action. So you've got these chemical constituents working all together. And that's another reason why they have, I think, a better benefit than just using an isolate of a component of something. And the biggest or the best example I have of this is you can go chew on a birch tree and it has natural salicylates in there. Or you can, so they used to use willow bark and boil it down and maybe make a tea to help with things that we would take a common aspirin for. And they took that salicylate, those powers that be that isolate compounds, and they took that salicylate and they isolated it and manufactured and put it into what we call aspirin. So you're just taking that one component, whereas using a willow bark, you're using the whole plant, which has many more things in it besides salicylate. So I hope that makes sense. If anybody is on live, got questions, go ahead and ask them now. If there's a particular issue you want me to ask me about or you want me to talk about, just let me know. And if you like what I have to say, please like this. Subscribe if you'd like to know when I'm posting new content. You can certainly share with your friends. If you're a Young Living member, great. I'm so happy for you because you are using the best oils on the planet. And if you are not yet a member but want to talk to me about how this can help you with your healthy lifestyle, I would be so happy to do that. And I will put my information in there so you can get a hold of me. All right, everybody, until next time, have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.